Welcome back, True Seeker. This is the second stream today. It's a continuation of what I was talking about in the last stream, which got interrupted. I had to take an important phone call. I want to talk more about the passing of Jon Bon Jovi's mother at age 83 on July 9th. I want to talk more about the Alec Baldwin trial and go over some of the history that what we reported the day of the shooting, when the charges were filed, other stories that have been going on along the way. And then I want to talk about, again, the latest example of how professional sports are rigged and scripted, along with rigged and scripted elections. And I want you to see what they're doing with the 49ers of San Francisco in this upcoming NFL season and how they've scheduled two of their games for prime time on Gavin Newsom's birthday and then Kamala Harris's birthday. And as we'll get to, there's a chance that the 49ers go into that game as a rematch of Super Bowls 54 and 58, 6-0 on Kamala's 60th birthday. So we're going to, again, just talk about how they rig sports and politics together and how you can see that this truly is a script to have the Chiefs and Niners playing on Kamala's birthday, she could possibly be the president of the United States by then. She could possibly be number 47 when last year the 49ers lost to the Chiefs when the over-under was set for the Super Bowl at 47.5, and the final score was 25-22, 47 points, which had a lot to do with it being on the Vatican's birthday. But anyway, we're gonna talk about that, and because there's a lot more to it. And to start, though, again, a little bit more on the death of Jon Bon Jovi's mother. She died 3 days shy of her 84th birthday. Bon Jovi, the band, had their big breakout album in 84. She's dead right before the 84th birthday, but again, dead July 9th at 83. And the word murder in Gematria equates to 79 and 83, just like mother. His mother is dead on this date at this age. Again, is there a chance that this is just the way it worked out in nature? That's possible, but the thing is, we see these numbers coming together all the time in suspicious deaths in the world of celebrity. Sometimes they're very young people. And again, Hollywood's putting out movies like this, Murder by Numbers. And as we've talked about so many times with this movie poster, the orange numbers around the word are 7 and 9, like murder, 79. And when you run the alphabetic order in verse, murder's 83, and you can see the letters change to numbers. It's the 3 and the 8, the 8 and the 3. When you apply numerology, murder the small way is 38, the big way 83. When you run the alphabetic order the other way, murder's 79. So 3 of the 4 base ciphers all right there in the title. And it's not just that, it's a number of other things, including who the star of the film Murder by Numbers is. And let's not forget the song Murder by Numbers by the Police came out in 83. And it's about, again, how killing's the sport of the elected. And it's as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3. But Agatha Christie, she has a story called The ABC Murders, which is about killing by this ABC 1, 2, 3 code as well. Amazon made this into a series. And you can see how the ABC murders overlaps with Society of Jesus. We talked about these numbers and the death of Jim Inhofe on the same day, who died exactly 79 weeks after leaving office as the senator in Oklahoma. But yes, also Bon Jovi. From his birthday, he turned 62, and because it was a leap year, it was on the 62nd day of the year. The word sacrifice has that gematria of 62. But from his birthday to his mother's death was his 130th day of his age, and human sacrifice equals 130. We talk about this quite often. Just last week, we were revisiting the death of Dr. Dre's son in the big 130 ritual, but it was also 187 days after Dr. Dre's birthday when he made the number 187 associated with homicide through the hip-hop song with Snoop Dogg, Deep Cover. So, yes, sacrifice 62. That's how old Bon Jovi is. And then the part we talked about his mother already. Also, from the anniversary of their first album that came out January 21st, 84, from the anniversary January 21st to today, or not today, but the day of his mother's death yesterday, that was 170 days later. Sacrifice has that gematria of 170 as well. Again, if you're new here, the 4 base ciphers of the English language. If you go to my website, GematriaEffect.news, there's a tab that says calculator. You type in a word, you get all 4 base ciphers. Same thing at GematriaEffectNews.com. But some people get mad at me because they think GematriaEffectNews.com is my website. And I know Derek put ads on it about a year back. That's not my website. My website doesn't have any ads. Derek's calculator is a little bit snazzier, but you have to put up with the ads. But if you can't stay in the ads, you can use my website. But you can see how Sacrifice has the 170 with the reverse alphabetic order and the 62. And you just got to say, what are the odds that his mom would die like that when we see this again and again all the time in the world of celebrity? If it's organic, like if it's just nature happening that she's dying in this code, then you have to look at that more carefully and say, okay, if this is somehow how the universe operates, what put that in motion for her to die in that pattern? Is there something true about these people selling their souls for fame and fortune? And is it like a roll of the dice when you sell your soul? You might get 6 months. You might get 60 years. The dice decide. I don't know, but we see how often it happens to a lot younger entertainers losing their parents. You know, Megan Thee Stallion, her mom's dead. The next day, her song's on the radio for the first time. Now she's all over with advertising. Her whole career launched with a death like this with her mother. Seen this so many times in the world of entertainment. And isn't Megan Thee Stallion, I mean, talk about a role model, Megan Thee Stallion, but also it's like, what kind of name is that? Because a stallion's a male horse and she's supposedly a female rapper. But anyway, his mom got to live to 83, and that's a relatively long life. But the thing is, she could have lived a lot longer. And again, it's just the hospital she died out, Monmouth Medical Center, Long Branch, New Jersey. That Monmouth word equals 97, like how the date can also be written 9/7, and death is 97. Monmouth, the small way, is also 34 and 38, like murder's 34 and 38, the small way. Again, the music industry gave us the song Murder by Numbers, where killing's the sport of the elected. It's as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3. Amazon's remaking Agatha Christie's The ABC Murders, which encodes the same thing. Hollywood's putting out Murder by Numbers, coding the same numbers on the poster. And by the way, one thing I didn't mention, the ABC Murders, again, is 56 and 79, like Society of Jesus. Again, that's who gave us the calendar and the language and seemingly synced it all up. The numbers on the Murder by Numbers movie poster. Again, we've talked about this many times, but just to make sure you know this. If you add up every number on this poster, that's the numbers 1 through 9, counting down the poster. And then you also have the numbers 3. Okay, so notice how the orange numbers, you have 1 through 7, then a break in 9 because they made the yellow 8, right? But every orange number plus the 3 yellow numbers in the letters, you add them all together, they add up to 56. Again, if you need help, 1 plus 2 is 3. So I'm just going to keep counting as we add them up down the page. We'll go all the way 1 through 9. And by the way, when we add up 1 through 9, it should add up to 45 because 45 is the 9th triangular. But 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 more 6, plus 4, 10, 5, 15, 6, 21, 7, 28, 8, 36, 9, 45. Like Trump's commercial, looking good, number 9, looking good. You know, all part of the predictive programming for how he'd become number 45. But then we have to add the 3 and the 8 that we didn't count from the words. That's 11 more. 45 plus 11, that's 56. I mean, do you think that's an accident? In light of what we're showing over and over again and who's running this show and how they bring the... I mean, think about how big these numbers were in the pandemic, you guys. And the pandemic took a lot of elderly people's lives. If you guys don't know about the pandemic and these numbers, we've talked about a million times. Mr. Anthony Fauci, Mr. 56, the pandemic declared on his 79th day of being 79 years old. The ABC murders, they got it all calculated out. Every face of the pandemic, Fauci, Newsom, Trump, Biden, Cuomo, the guy at the Redfield at the, oh my God, CDC, every other name I'm not saying right now, just a Jesuit here, a Jesuit there. Almost every damn one of their names either equaled 56 or they were the 56th governor or the 56th mayor. Or Gavin Newsom saying 56% are going to get the virus in 8 weeks, which is 56 days. And now here he is, 56 years old, where they got this super tribute to him with the Niners and the season, just bringing again how they script the politics and the sports together. They've been syncing up the Padres and the Dodgers all year this year with Steve Garvey running for Senate in California. So, okay, those were the main additional points I had on the Bon Jovi mother's death. And I'm sure someone who's a big Bon Jovi fan who knows a lot more about their music will probably catch a lot more. I think these are some of the most surface level observations. But remember, this is a Catholic family, the Bon Jovis. What's their real name? Bon Jovi. But don't forget, Jon Bon Jovi, his stage name has that Gematria 144 and 54, just like Jesuit order. Society of Jesus, or Society of Jesus 79. Again, if you're new here, that these numbers that go into murder, it's interesting how they also connect with Jesus and Yeshua and cross. Because a lot of people, when they think of Jesus, they think about his death on the cross, which in a way you could look at as murder. It was capital punishment. But the name Yeshua, the true name of Jesus, has the Gematria 79 and 83, whereas Jesus and church and cross are all 34. You might recall Trump's 34 charges right before Passover, and then he compared himself to Jesus. Okay, so yeah, that's what I mostly got for the Bon Jovi, but just truly just another example of the same repetitive code, and I don't know how more people don't stop and say, yeah, does all seem a bit very much in the face. All right. So moving on, the Alec Baldwin trial, like we quickly covered yesterday, this is about him shooting the Ukrainian woman on the set of Rust right before Russia-Ukraine. And then yesterday they picked the trial or the jury on the date that we write 7-9 in the US, like Ukraine 79, and NATO had their meeting over Ukraine. And once upon a time, we had 7.9% inflation because of the war that had started in Ukraine that happened like right after the war began. Said, oh my God, Ukraine's causing crazy inflation. They'd be showing you graphs on this slide. They'd say, despite the United States getting very little of its, oil from Russia and, this tiny amount of grain from over here, it's causing this massive inflation. It's like, in what world does any of this make any sense? It's all bullshit by a numerical code. But yeah, just here we are again. And now it's the next day, and you can write today 10/7 like 107. And again, shooting is 107, and military is 107, and Putin's birthday is 10/7. And again, this shooting was right after Putin's birthday, right before the war broke out with Russia, like Rust. Again, it was a church shootout scene in Rust. But yeah, here, let's go back and just here's my post from October 21st, 2021, the day it happened. 3 years ago when I was working on the same book on 201. And again, in a way, it's my next book, whenever I do finish it, will easily be my best book. And a big part of the reason I've been close to finishing it for years now is because always something's happening that makes me think, oh, I know even more now. I got to add this in there. It's been so obvious that we've been so dialed in on what's going on. But like, I remember being close to done with the book back when this happened. and now, in a way, I'm glad I didn't finish it because a million more things that have happened since then to further prove my point. But again, Alec Baldwin shot. Hey, by the way, notice that Alec Baldwin was 63 when he shot the woman, right? In light of how much focus there is on the number 63 right now. We're talking about how George Clooney's just now coming out against Biden while 63 years old, when Biden has all these parallels to JFK, who his term ended in 63 when he was assassinated. Again, his wingman Obama's about to turn 63. The Obama bros are saying Biden's got to go. But yeah, Alec Baldwin was 63 when this happened, by the way. But it was 201 days after his birthday. And again, that is the number of the Jesuit cabal. And it's been the number of this war, which has broke. It was shortly after this, December 7th, 201 days after the Jesuit Ignatian year began, that Biden and Putin met about what was going on in Ukraine. And then the war broke out in the Donbass region with 201. There's been a whole bunch of 201s leading up to just yesterday and the day before with these 201 rituals with the Children's Hospital getting blown up. And then the NATO meeting 201 days, from Zelensky's upcoming birthday. And not to mention Biden signing off on all the money for Ukraine and Israel on the 201st day of the war in Israel, which also broke out in a 201 ritual, like Israel was founded in a 201 ritual. Like 201 is the number that defines who the Illuminati is in terms of this Kabbalistic code, which they use and abuse and they do over and over. But the thing we were really zeroed in on the night this happened, without Russia-Ukraine breaking out yet, was just the parallel to Brandon Lee and Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee died on the 201st day of the year. Bruce Lee, the father of Brandon Lee. Geez, there's a lot in this post. I went to town on this post. There's a lot of information in here. But anyway, yeah, Bruce Lee did die on the 201st day of the year while filming Game of Death. And then his son, Brandon Lee, died while filming The Crow. And the same guy working on the set of Rust was working on The Crow, they reported. But notice how Halyhna Hutchins has the same gematria as Harland Rust, 71, as Bruce Lee, right? 71. And do you recall when the war in Israel began, how it began on Putin's 71st birthday, 71 days from the Pope's birthday, because Catholic is 71, the Society of Jesus is 71, Babylon is 71, Whore of Babylon is 71. Again, big way, small way. Very special number is 71. And notice the overlap with Bruce Lee and Catholic, perfect in all ciphers, including that 35 and 46, just like Thursday. And this shooting happened on a Thursday, happened on a 35 Thursday. If you go and look, you'll see the Cleveland Browns won their game that night. And I can't remember who they had starting, but they had a backup quarterback in for Thursday Night Football who got his 35th career win. We're like, all right, Browns underdogs, 35 Thursday. And not only was that coming in, but then you had the 35 tribute to Bruce Lee with the Baldwin. Anyway. Notice how Game of Death came out in 79? Isn't that kind of interesting in light of how they picked the jury for Baldwin on July 9th when Ukraine's also 79? If you've never seen Game of Death, Bruce Lee, he gets shot on a movie scene because somebody purposefully puts a real gun in for the prop gun because they want him dead. And then what Bruce Lee does, because he realizes people want him dead, is he fakes his death in the headlines for his own protection. Okay. From the anniversary of Bruce Lee's death until the Alec Baldwin shooting was 93 days later. Remember, Order of Illuminati's 201 and 93. Remember, heliocentrism has that 201-93 connection. The sun 93 million miles away on average. The sun, the center of it all, the thing that illuminates the world. The word for capital punishment in the time of Rome, the way Jesus was crucified, the cross with the 3 nails, that's triclavianism. The Jesuit logo has the sun with 3 nails. Again, they gave us the calendar and language, and they did in the 16th century. The century of the 201 model, the heliocentrism. But yeah, Brandon Lee, buried on the day Baldwin turned 35. Baldwin turned 35 that day. The name Eric equals 35. That was his character in The Crow when he died. E-R-I-C, Eric. Remember, Christmas Day is 1225. The square root of 1225 is 35. The old Roman name for Jesus, Jesus, has that gematria 35. Like Catholic. And there is something about both the Lees, Brandon and Bruce, being buried in Seattle. Has that gematria 68 and 94, like Helios-like planet. Fits in with Alec Baldwin's full name. Yeah, there's even more to it. Yeah, if you want to read more, there's more information here, but I don't want to overdo it. Oh, the day of the shooting of Halyhna Hutchins by Baldwin, it had 72 day numerology. Remember, Jesuit order 72. The sun moves 1 degree on the astrological wheel every 72 years. And again, we got the first Jesuit Pope on the 72nd day of the year. Seemingly, the ritual's now fitting in with Biden, who became senator-elect in 72. And with regards to the whole sun thing, remember, the sun is 150 million kilometers away on average. Heliocentrism has the 150 connection, like the word Illuminati equals 150. Again, they said Alec Baldwin shot the Ukrainian woman at 1:50 p.m. local time. And again, it was 201 days after his 93rd birthday. Order of Illuminati 201-93, Illuminati 150. All of these numbers fit together through what we understand about the relationship between the distance of the Earth and the sun. rituals and time. Same numbers coming up all the time. Again, in Hebrew, the original code of letters and numbers, 201 pertains to light and knowledge. Again, in English, the phrase knowledge is power equals 201, like the Jesuit order, like Order of Illuminati, like the million other things that this number connects to that we've talked about endlessly for years now. The man who accidentally killed Brandon Lee, this shooting was one day after his death anniversary. Isn't that also weird? His death anniversary is Kamala Harris's birthday. She turned 52 the day he died. The Crow releasing on 5/11. Remember, that's a big number with Saturn, the keeper of time. Saturn has the connection to 93, like this shooting 93 days after, again, Bruce Lee's death anniversary on the 21st of the month. And the woman was 42 when she was killed. War equals 42, like World War. The war breaks out right after. But remember, with regards to Saturn, which is connected to keeping time, death, and judgment, remember, sacrifice to Saturn equals 201. Saturnian order equals 201. Saturn worship equals 201. The first Jesuit pope, Pope Francis, is born on Saturnalia, and his birth name, Jorge Margario Bergoglio, is 201. And he, again, just the first Jesuit pope, the first to live in Suite 201. The last French pope, the 201st, the Jesuits from France. The Pope in Russia and Ukraine one day after the war officially began on the 56th day of the year when Pope equals 56, like Society of Jesus. I mean, come on. Yeah, in the article right away, they bring up the Crow. Yeah, that was the instant comparison. Of course, was Brandon Lee the Crow, and I mean, you didn't need the media to do that. Anyone who was alive remembers that was a big thing when Bruce Lee's son was reportedly shot and killed while filming The Crow. Okay, other headlines from the past. Alec Baldwin charged 65 weeks later and perfectly synced with his 65th birthday. Look at this. The charge January 19th, 2023, that was 74 days before Alec Baldwin's birthday, right? And we're saying the Society of Jesus is doing this. So Jesus Christ has the Gematria 43 and 74. We talked about this pattern in yesterday's news headlines. With the death of the singer from the Oak Ridge Boys. But January 19th, the day that these charges were handed out, that date can be written 19/1, like 191, which is the 43rd prime. And keep in mind the trial, they picked the jury yesterday, which was the 191st day of the leap year. And a non-leap year today, the day of day one of the trial, would be the 191st day of the year. But Baldwin, who has that April 3rd birthday, is also 43. And the more important point here is April 3rd is the day that history, or in 2012, science made some discovery, and a lot of science put out headlines saying that Jesus' real crucifixion date was April 3rd in 33 AD. And that's interesting for a lot of reasons, because it's the 93rd day of the year, and crucifix and God's son in Nazareth, they're all 93, going with Brandon Lee being buried on that day, on the 93rd day of the year, and then the Baldwin shooting being 93 days after Bruce Lee's death anniversary. But yeah, killing also has this Gematria 74 and 43. He's charged for the killing of Halyhna Hutchins with a manslaughter charge. Again, 74 days before his birthday on 4/3, right? So there's that part. And again, Society of Jesus, Jesus alone equals 74, like Lucifer, like cross, like Messiah, like parables, like gospel, like holiday, like killing, like Jewish, like Masonic, like occult. Like then what happened in Israel in a massive 74 ritual synced with Netanyahu's 74th birthday and Gaza's 74th anniversary of being established, as we covered then, which also happened right around that time in October. October surprises. And remember, October is the only month that has Gematria 33, like Jesus on the cross at 33. Halyhna Hutchins, the name of the actress, had gematria 64. Baldwin was 64 at the time. The word kill equals 64. Involuntary manslaughter, what he was charged with, equals 311, which is the 64th prime. And again, it was a church shootout scene, right, in this movie. When Putin just had the interview with Tucker Carlson, he began by explaining how it all went back to the history of the Catholic Church and the Russian Orthodox Church. So think about this Rust Church shootout scene with the Ukrainian woman. And then Gorbachev, he ended up dying by the numbers shortly after the war broke out because he was who was in power when the Soviet Union dissolved, when Russia and Ukraine used to be all part of one nation. Just about 30 years ago, about 30 years earlier, when Saturn has a 30-year return. But yeah, from the shooting to the charges, exactly 65 weeks, right? Baldwin has the gematria 65 like Christianity. Again, just this biblical theme, right? The church, killing, right and wrong, courts, legal process. So yeah, just again, how perfectly all of this is unfolded by an ongoing numerical code. And now all about the shooting and the first day of the trials on a date that can be written 10/7, like 107 when shooting's 107. We also saw that Halyhna Hutchins and his character name equals 71. We write today's date commonly in the US 7/10. So the number sequence is 710. It's got that 71 sequence in it. Again, Catholic 71, church shootout. By the way, the word rust also has gematria 15 like war. Again, this was synced up with the war that broke out. And I think I forgot to mention that the shooting was on the day leaving 71 days left in the year, October 21st. All right. And then here's a headline from here. Let me see what day this is posted. I got to go to the bottom. March 11th, 2022. March 11th, 2022. So this is over 2 years ago. Heavy shelling erupts in the south as Russia expands strikes. Again, right as Baldwin's trials get underway. Horrific story of the Children's Hospital, the NATO summit. I mean, just think about it, you guys. This is all one big script, obviously being put together. Look at what's up here. It's that day. It's something similar. It's Kamala Harris is up there. Harris avoids public discord in one of the most intense moments of her vice presidency. And then a little bit down below that day, Alec Baldwin says in legal filing that Halyhna Hutchins told him to cock the gun before it fired. And again, this is on 311. We saw that his charge has gematria 311. Let's not forget that the number 201 is 311 in base 8 counting. Like event 201 was the pandemic simulation, and it was declared on March 11th, 311. And of course, that date can be written 11/3 like 113, and the name of the virus, pandemic, coronavirus. Yeah. So apparently the screen went black again. That's the new problem over here. For a while, the mic was just going out of nowhere. Now we just lose the whole thing. I don't exactly know where we went out, but did you guys hear me talking about Alec Baldwin's return to Saturday Night Live before we went out? Did you miss that one? It was when I was spelling out the pandemic and talking about the 113 thing. Okay. I kind of forget everything I talked about since then, but I know after I got done with that, I switched over to this slide about Alec Baldwin making his return to Saturday Night Live and how he did that 107 weeks after the shooting in light of day one of the trial being 10/7. And also how that was 222 days after his birthday. Because you might recall that when the war began, it officially began on February 24th, which is the anniversary of the Jesuits implementing the Gregorian calendar. But it was 2 days before that Biden addressed the nation about Russia, Ukraine, because on February 22nd, the Russian forces crossed the border into Ukraine, but they didn't start firing. That was on 2/22/2022, and Biden addressed the nation starting at 2:22 p.m. Eastern time about it. This huge 222 ritual, which, again, if you read my book that came out in 2020, Number Games, we talked about why 222 was so huge in 9/11 and the pandemic and why they were 222 months apart. So, yeah, Baldwin's returned to Saturday Night Live for the first time while he was dealing with the hardships of the shooting of the Ukrainian woman. Seemed to be a perfect shooting tribute. And then remember when Russia Ukraine broke out, we were talking about the parallels with the start of COVID in Russia Ukraine. There was more to it. But yeah, just again, you go through all these older posts. I have a lot of older posts on Alec Baldwin and the ongoing fiasco. Just come to my old website, GematriaEffect.news, and search Alec Baldwin. There's a lot of posts here to go over. He pled not guilty to manslaughter February 23rd, 2023. 223 is the 48th prime. That's the 54th day of the year for those old Jesuits. R. Kelly had a tough time in court at age 54. We know what's going on with Diddy at age 54. He's got the same Jesuit prosecutor from Georgetown, founded by 54-year-old John Carroll, that R. Kelly did. Manslaughter has the Gematria 68. What he's being charged with. And he pled not guilty on 68 date numerology, 68 days after the Pope's birthday. Again, church shootout scene. The whole system being in sync with the Pope. That year, 68. Another Kennedy, Catholic. So yeah, if you want to read more on the Baldwin stuff or a lot of things, I mean, just come search my website. There's a lot of information here. He reached a settlement with her family October 5th, 2022. Yeah, just in light of the initial Illuminati numbers in the shooting, they were there again in the settlement. 10-5, a bit like 105. But by the way, that's Travis Kelce's birthday, 10-5. And then his quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, his birthday is September 17th, the day leaving 105 days left in the year. Again, we're coming up on that 105th NFL season. And KC, you know what they refer to Kansas City, what's on their football helmet, just the letters KC. K is the 11th letter, C is the 3rd. So K plus C is 11 plus 3, 14. If you add 1 through 14 together, it equals 105. Going to talk a bit more about what they're doing with the 49ers and Chiefs game, the rematch of the Super Bowl on Kamala Harris's birthday, and make sure we're still live before we get into it. Okay, so the 49ers are opening their season against Aaron Rodgers, the guy who played at Cal, who's from the Bay Area, who came out of college early because he thought the Niners would draft him, but said they took Alex Smith. So Niners have a big primetime game against Aaron Rodgers to start the year. No, so that's their first game. Second game's at the Vikings. Third game's at the Rams. Fourth game's hosting the Patriots. Fifth game's hosting the Cardinals. Sixth game is at the Seattle Seahawks. That's on Gavin Newsom's birthday. So they're playing on old Gavin's birthday in prime time. Think about that. And then on Kamala's birthday, they're playing the Chiefs. It's going to be the game of the week. And what are the odds that the Niners have back-to-back scheduled games on Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris's birthday in light of all the different ways the schedule could have worked out when both Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris have all of this, political connection to San Francisco, the city of the 49ers. That game on October 20th, that's going to be Kamala's 60th birthday, right before the 60th election. It is possible that if the 49ers start perfect in the year, they will be 6-0 going into that game against the Chiefs on Kamala's birthday. Totally not out of the question. If it wasn't 6-0, if I had to guess out of the gate, if they didn't go that route, the next route I'd guess is 4-2, just because of the racial connection, the ritual last year with the Chiefs and Niners, and the fact that Gavin Newsom was the 42nd mayor of San Francisco. They could theoretically become 4-2 on his birthday. So, I mean, again, the value of being aware of these things is, imagine if the Niners come into this game on the Seahawks 5-0. It's like, okay, they're getting to 6-0 to play on Kamala's 60th birthday. But if they come into that game on Newsom's birthday, they could be 4-1, right? I imagine they'd be a favorite against the Seahawks. If they came in 4-1, I'd be thinking, yeah, they're probably falling to 4-2 on Newsom's birthday. However, San Francisco losing on his birthday doesn't sound right. So anyway, the thing about Kamala being 60 in the 60th election and the Niners going in 6-0, look at this. That game, her birthday's October 20th. Remember, it's the same day Herbert Hoover died, and Gerald Ford's prophecy about the first female president was given in the Herbert Hoover Library. But Kamala's birthday, 10/20/2024, if you look it up, the Super Bowl this year is on February 9th, 2025 in New Orleans. And you see how it's 112 days before the Super Bowl? Now, if you've been around, that number should definitely stand out to you in light of what we talked about 1,000 times in the last however many years. But first of all, just Kamala Harris, right? And the most simple cipher, her name is 112. 112. She's also got that 49, like she's the 49th VP, and we're talking about a ritual synced up with the 49ers. But it's 112 days before the Super Bowl, right? And then pretty much almost every year we talk about the 112 ritual in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl equals 112 as well. And Chiefs, the year that the first time that the Chiefs beat San Francisco in the Super Bowl, see how Chiefs has the 112 in reverse, forwards 50. San Francisco is also 50, like they used to be 5-0 in Super Bowls. And when the Chiefs beat the 49ers for the first time in Super Bowl 54, it was the first Super Bowl they'd won in 50 years. But anyhow, you have the Chiefs and Niners, a rematch of two recent Super Bowls, 112 days before Super Bowl 59. Remember what they did to O.J. Simpson, who's from San Francisco, how he died 59 days after the last Super Bowl. And Ephesians 6, the verses 5-9 are about slaves, obey your masters. And slave equals 59 and master equals 76. Slave also equals 76. But OJ dead at 76 and announced dead at the start of the Masters. Again, how they sync up all these really high rituals. And again, the OJ Simpson death comes right before the 105th NFL season, right? Just like how they did Jim Brown dirty right before the 104th NFL season. Jim Brown 104. And then the Browns made the playoffs. Can you believe it? Only to get punked by the refs in the opening round. But hold on. What was the other point I had to make about this? Oh, yeah, the 112 thing. The 112 thing. If you go back to the year of Super Bowl 54, remember, HBO is run by Jesuits, right? It's founded by a Jesuit. They're always doing all the Jesuit salutes on HBO. The other year, they gave away the Super Bowl outcome with their rewrite of, what was the video game they made into a series a couple years ago on HBO? And then they changed one detail. They changed it from like Pittsburgh in the actual video game series to Kansas City in the show. And then the change was the day before the Super Bowl that Kansas City won, and it was a big shootout scene. And Len Dawson, who had just died at the start of that year on Kobe Bryant Day, who's from Philly, and the Super Bowl was Chiefs over Philly. But Anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is because HBO, at the time of Super Bowl 54, had the show Ballers. And in the episode that was 112 days before the Super Bowl, The Rock, who's the star of that show, who's from San Francisco, The Rock bought the Chiefs 112 days before the rigged Super Bowl that year. And again, that was Super Bowl 54, right after they did Kobe dirty. The Sunday before Super Bowl 54 and the Catholic Mass ritual when Kobe beat Bryant's 54 like Jesuit order. But again, it was the Joe Montana Bowl. So look at this. Joe Montana, right? 54, Catholic educated. The Niners used to be 5-0 in Super Bowls. Then they lost the Harbaugh Bowl and became 5-1. Then they lost the Joe Montana Bowl, Super Bowl 54, and fell to 5-2. And then they lost Super Bowl 58, which was the 54th Super Bowl of the modern era, to the Chiefs and became 5-3. So now the upcoming Super Bowl 59 is in New Orleans, which equals 54. And Joe Montana, he won his 4th and final Super Bowl in New Orleans. And now they keep doing all these parallels to Mahomes, who plays for the Chiefs, where Montana finished his career. And Mahomes could theoretically win his 4th Super Bowl in New Orleans, just like Joe Montana did. And here's the one other thing I'll say about this. There's also a major connection with Joe Burrow and Joe Montana in 54. Joe Burrow won the championship in New Orleans in college on 54 date numerology. And then he got drafted to the Niners in a big 54 ritual. And then he took the Bengals to the Super Bowl in their 54th season, which they lost right before the war broke out with Russia and Ukraine. And of course, Ukraine has the same colors as the Rams. And Russia gives away that medal that looks just like the Bengals colors. We were talking about that at the time. And the name of that medal even equals 201. But remember, that year, too, it was the obvious Jesuit ritual with Joe Burrow, the year he lost to the Rams in the Super Bowl. L.A. won the Super Bowl on 213, representing the 213 area code. But that year, the Bengals played the 4 teams that Billy Cannon played for, and Billy Cannon died on Cannonball Day, which is important to the Jesuits. At the same time, Joe Burrow transferred from Ohio State to LSU and then went on to repeat Billy Cannon's career at LSU, winning the Heisman and the championship over Clemson and New Orleans. So the other team that, if the Niners do end up in the Super Bowl again this year, the other team that they could fall to 5-4 to, and it wouldn't be good for you Niners fans unless you don't mind just being in the Super Bowl and losing. But there's a lot of reason to think you guys are going to 5-4 if you're in that game. And Joe Burrow could be the guy to do it. But the way they got this thing lined up with Kamala Harris's birthday, in light of what could be happening to her, how she could be the commander-in-chief, just to watch to see if it doesn't all unfold that way. We've done this 100 times before in sports, proven our point in spades. And as time gets closer and there's more to look at, we'll find more clues and see if our hunch right now is right. But again, it's not an accident they got 49ers playing on Gavin Newsom's birthday and then Kamala's birthday in back-to-back games. And just how they even set it up, the Niners could potentially go in 6-0 for Kamala's big 60th birthday before the 60th election. And don't forget what else they're doing. They had the Chiefs shooting last year on 214, kind of like 214, which is the Dallas area code. It was the anniversary of the Parkland High School shooting when JFK died at Parkland Hospital in Dallas. Notice who the Chiefs play after the 49ers. After Kamala's birthday, then they just happen to be playing the Dallas Cowboys. Isn't that funny? What are the odds they're playing the Dallas Cowboys? So anyway, scripted sports, scripted politics, scripted news. The whole world should know about it right now. But again, just throwing out some big old, very interesting clues. And here, to show you one more thing, how you go even deeper with it. Again, it would be the 6th game of the year on Newsom's birthday. It'd be the 7th game of the year on Kamala's birthday. Niners versus Chiefs. Look at Brock Purdy's record right now as a quarterback. And I'll show you something. If it happens. If by the end of that game, let me pull him up here. Where is he? Purdy. He has 27 games, regular season and postseason. If he plays in all 7 games and he goes 6-1 in those opening games, he'll be 27-7. He'll be 27-7 for his career. And why does that matter? Here, let me just write out the phrase Independence Day. It's not that it's Independence Day, but this word will help me make the point of the point I'm trying to make. Independence Day has the 277. Of course, has the 74, like how we call it on 7-4. But 277 is the 59th prime number, right? The 59th prime. Super Bowl 59 upcoming. What they did to O.J. Simpson. Remember, Kamala was picked by Joe as the VP nominee in a big 59 ritual, and then they won the 59th election. And she's going to be 59 years old when this season starts. And renegade equals 59. That's Obama's Secret Service name, like slave, like Negro, like blues, like Rasta. Remember, slave, Negro, blues, Rasta, they're all 59 forwards, 76 in reverse, like how they brought those numbers together with OJ. And, I mean, there's other scenarios that could play out. So you got to follow the clues. But you'll see it when it happens, or so often we do. We almost always catch it every season when it happens. When they drop the major clue, we're like, okay, that's actually what they're doing right there. If we don't have it already, we'll figure it out. But OJ, he did play for the Niners and the Bills. And yeah, it's just funny how they do the same stuff year after year, and people don't catch on. All his number. Remember, all these American sports credited to Masons, and that's what they etch on the temple. All his number. All of these games are about numbers, by the way, as well. What's the master number in numerology? 11. You think it's an accident that football's 11 on 11? The game that's got everybody's attention. Again, the shape of the sport, or the shape of the football is an eye. Almost everybody during football season just has their eye on the ball. Keep your eye on the ball. Don't pay attention to anything else going on in the world. Eat some more potato chips, drink some beer, keep your eye on the ball. Remember, I equals 35. In Septenrian Chaldean Gematria, football and Super Bowl equal 35. Thursday is 35. Every week we're talking about the 35 ritual on Thursdays in the NFL. Genesis 3:5 is about the eyes of God and knowing good and evil. And again, look at these games. I mean, yeah, there's a good thing, obviously, to the sports. It's competitive, it's fun, it's entertaining, it's exciting. It inspires young people. Yeah, there's good things about all things are good and bad, but there's a very evil side to these pro sports that everyone should know about, and that's when they should all boycott. They're rigged, and they're ritually sacrificing people undeniably year after year. The Smash Mouth singer dead right by the 49ers stadium right before the season began last year. Remember that one? Smash Mouth football terminology. The Chiefs owner dead last year, Norma Hunt, on 6/4 right before the Chiefs' 64th season. She also died on the 49ers' birthday. Here, I'll show you one more thing that's interesting about if they did do Niners and Chiefs and how they keep paying tribute to Montana. Again, last year, Montana wore 19 for the Chiefs. Chiefs first team to go back-to-back in 19 years, going to overtime 19-19. McCole Hardman's 19th career touchdown to win the game. After Deebo Samuel, number 19, was the first player to take the field 19 minutes after the hour. This year will be the 49ers, or not the 49ers. It'll be the Chiefs. Derek changed this, and I hate that he called it smart. It's dumb. Okay. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. The 49ers are goofy because they have numbers in their name. So San Francisco 49ers, these values that you see on the screen are true for this team, but there's another way to calculate in Gematria, and if there's numbers in the sentence, you don't include the numbers, you only include the letters. So San Francisco 49ers also has the connection to 65, okay? It's going to be the Chiefs' 65th season. And look at this. Here's one more thing that really should stand out to you about this. Super Bowl winning teams. We're going to go to the last time there was a Super Bowl in New Orleans. That was the Harbaugh Bowl, where the 49ers got their first Super Bowl loss. They were 5-0 coming in. Remember, John equals 47 like Maryland. They win Super Bowl 47, the Blackout Bowl. But that was right here, Super Bowl 47. This is the longest gap in the NFL's history of not having a Super Bowl in New Orleans. There was a gap of 11 years, but if you look throughout the history, this will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans this year. A lot of times the gap's just 3, 4, 5 years, but the two biggest gaps, 11 years and now 12 years. But yeah, look at the score of that game that the Ravens won the Harbaugh Bowl. John beat Jim Harbaugh. And of course, Jim did return to the NFL this year, playing for the Chargers, like how the electricity went out at this one. But 34-31, right? 65 points. There were 65 points in that game. And I just said Maryland equals 47, which is true. You run it the other way, Maryland equals 34. They won with 34 on the 34th day of the year. Both the Super Bowls the Ravens have won have been with 34 points. Again, you learn Gematria, you go through all these games, you see through the rig script and all of them. And again, just politics and sports every year. We've been showing you what they've been doing this year with baseball and Steve Garvey and how they had to start the season early with the Dodgers and Padres perfectly synced with his birthday and what's been going on from spring training through the first official game of the season up through rituals in the season. Year after year, if you're aware of it, you'll see it. Rigged and scripted. And yes, the code behind the calendar and the language is the proof. And if you can't see that that's real proof because it's not a Wikipedia page about it, that makes you a useful idiot. Yeah, there's literally a guy in the world that's arguing that my work's not real because Wikipedia would write about it if it was true. It's like, oh, Wikipedia would write about it if it's true. Really? Wikipedia that's always fudging their numbers and changing their dates and stats all the time. Wikipedia is hardly a legitimate resource, but yeah, you can still you can pull stuff from Wiki that's helpful, but to argue that something's not legitimate because Wiki's not covering it, I mean, give me a break. You're not legitimate if you can't see the legitimacy of my work. Anyone with a brain can see the legitimacy. I can't say the word right now. Legitimacy of what I'm doing. Way too many accurate forecasts, way too many proofs of the same thing. And again, time will tell if that's exactly what they're doing with old Kamala and Gavin this year. All right. I think I got through everything I wanted to. If you missed the earlier stream, we covered this racial bait they have up here today with the black man who changed his name and got a job, and now he's suing because they only hired him with the fake Polish name. Again, his fake Polish name equals 192, like it's the 192nd day of the year. His birth name equals Jesuit order in practically every cipher. Just same people, same crap every day. Just bait, distraction, divide. And again, I wish I didn't have to spend my days trying to wake up the world. But again, we're all tied to the same chain, and all this dead weight humanity that's asleep at the switch going along with this crap every day, they're all dragging us to the bottom. So till my link in the chain comes and pulls me down, I'm going to keep speaking out. Okay. All right. Thank you, 13 Serpents. But by the way, 13 Serpents, I always appreciate the generosity. The last time you gave a super chat was a while back, and it was about, oh boy, Jay Parker giving us a shout out, and you even gave me a date. I could not find that episode anywhere. You don't need to give me another super chat, but if you want to leave a comment somewhere in the chat about if it was like on a different website, I couldn't find what you mentioned, but I did appreciate it. I looked for it for a while. No dice. Thank you, Rick James, for gifting 5 memberships. Very generous. Appreciate that too. Interesting, John Mendoza. Interesting. I guess one more thing I could say about it being 12 years since the last Super Bowl in New Orleans. Remember in this 78th NBA season, which ended with the Mega 78 ritual, again, game 1 was the 78th birthday of the Celtics. They're the only team with the 78 full name Gematria in the league. Again, after their 78th win, Jerry West died. They had to fudge game 4 to Trump's 78th birthday. He has the Slovenia connection. The team with the Slovenia player won their only game that day. There were several 106 scores. 106 is the 78th composite number for this 78th NBA season's closeout. Again, game 1 was also the 78th game of the NBA playoffs. But something we talked about also was how the Celtics outscored the Mavericks for the series by a total of 12 points. If you add up games 1 through 5, it ended in game 5. The Celtics had 12 more total points than the Mavericks did in the whole series. If you add 1 through 12 together, it equals 78. 78 is the 12th triangular. So could we see the same, one of the same teams representing the NFC? back in the game where Joe Montana made history, again, winning his 4th Super Bowl ring, like Mahomes is aiming for next. It's in the cards. All right. What's the latest on Vince McMahon? I haven't heard anything about Vince McMahon for a minute ever since he had those, what do you have, like sexual assault allegations against him? That happened, and then I haven't seen much of Vince McMahon. Shout out to Frank Hernandez with the Cash App. My friend Darrell just sent me some photos of what happened to his house. He lives in the Houston area. Well, Darrell's got to replace the fence. I'll tell you what, Darrell, if that's all that's wrong that the fence blew over, man. I mean, that does suck. Fences are expensive right now, but it looks like most of the material's still there, so the repair shouldn't be too bad. It's just, woo, could have been worse. Man, we've had some windstorms out here that have blown over the fence in recent times. But yeah, I did see that there was some messy stuff in Houston, so. Darrell, seriously, man, I would think about relocating from Houston. Houston is like got the biggest X on it out of every American city there is in this age of weather warfare. Seems like that city commands like 25% of the rituals at least. Is there some update on Vince McMahon? Is there some new headline? I don't know where the Vince McMahon question came from. America loves its wrestling. I'm not seeing any new Vince McMahon headlines. Vince McMahon's post WWE life. Trump connections. Yeah, remember we were talking about Trump's rituals with WrestleMania and where it all fit in with the last rig selection. That's how big of a joke it is. Donald Trump, the only president to have ever wrestled in WrestleMania. Kittens, vacations, and staying in touch with Trump. All right. Okay, anyhow, I do got to hop off, True Seeker. Sorry I had to do the stream in 2 parts, but I got interrupted with an important phone call, and it was not the news I wanted to hear at all. And anyway, someday I'm going to tell you the story about this older couple, man. Oh, my God. I just wonder if they've gone through all of life just like lying, cheating, and stealing. Sweet lady and I tried to do something that seemed smart over a year ago, but because these people were so dishonest, it has caused us a huge problem. And without even getting into it, I did reach out to a lawyer in there, and he looked at it, he's like, you have a serious case? He said, just the thing is, they're really older people, and yeah, I don't know if I want to sue older people. They deserve to get sued, though. Oh, my God. Yeah, anyway, Sunday I'll tell you the story, but it makes me mad that they're older people, and to tell such a whopper of a lie and to hide something that's so wrong. And yeah, I don't know. You just expect older people to not be like that. Like some people in their 80s, you don't expect them to like hide the most horrific lie you've ever come across in your lifetime. And it just makes you wonder how many people they did dirty before they got to this age. No, but I thought the nightmare was almost over, and then today something happened, and it's like a whole new layer's been added. I'm just like, is this ever going to end? God. Oh my God. So anyway, we'll get through it, True Seeker. But yeah, just people who tell whoppers of lies that really screw over other people. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how some people sleep with themselves. All right, we'll leave it there for now, True Seeker. Have a good rest of your day, and until next time.